Howdo! Shall we make a tiny little neck for our tiny little ukulele? Go on then. So this is what we've got so far. It doesn't look much like a neck, does it? It also isn't going to be wide enough for the headstock at the end. So the first thing I'm going to do is just chop off another 2 chunks of maple to stick at the end, so then we've got a headstock width that we can chop out. So while that's gluing, I'm going to make a fretboard. I've got this scrap little piece of maple here that's got a nice face on it, but it's still a bit thick. That's about 7mm thick. Doesn't need to be anything like that thick on here. So I'm going to trim this down on the bandsaw, possibly even down to 4 or 5mm, I think. So that's got me pretty much to the right depth and flatness. I don't do things precisely with any of my fretboards until they're attached to the neck. I know some people like to do them completely separate, fret slots, the works, all inlays, all that kind of stuff, then attach it to the neck. I much prefer to have it attached to the neck, and then I know it's perfectly flat. It's not going to do anything stupid. Okay, so we need to glue that onto there. That is my nice straight edge for the nut. So I need to position this where the nut needs to be. Now for me, the way that I've worked this out is I want the end of the neck to be level with the 18th fret, which is a nice distance of 270.7, which is there. So that's where my nut needs to be. Now because I can just see my center line along there, I can then go up to here, score off where that nut needs to be quite accurately, nice and straight. Lovely. And then I can just glue this on up to that point there, knowing that that's going to be in the right place. It gives me a little bit of overhang, half a finger's width. That allows me to put a curve on the end of here that I like to do, which matches the King headstock, and the bottom of my logo actually fits nicely at the bottom of my neck. So all I've got to do now is glue that on. Now a lot of people keep recommending this granulated system for gluing up so that it doesn't slip. I've never tried it. Why not give it a go? So we'll stick our glue on. Now if you haven't watched the other episodes yet, where have you been? But don't worry, I haven't forgotten a truss rod. I'm purposefully not putting one in. With this being a 2-piece maple neck, so small, it just won't need one. With the nylon strings and the tiny tension that's going to be on there, we'll be absolutely fine. Now I'm going to sprinkle a few granules of, well, I'm using sugar here. I don't think it really matters whether it's salt or sugar, really. It's not a cooking show. Right, let's put this on. We've got that up to that point. As long as I'm covered both sides, it all needs trimming and tapering anyway. So it's just making sure I've got nicely squared off on there. So I can put my knife in those scoring marks. Like that. And then we'll clamp that up. See if it moves. Well, the first one didn't move. What about the second one? I'd say that looks pretty good as well, actually. How bizarre! Clampy. Morning. Oh, flinking blip, it's cold out there. Good job I have a KBC mug to keep my hands warm. Get one in the merch store now. There we go. So unclamped, we have a neck. with a little fretboard on there ready to go. Now then, what I want you to do is post in the comments if you've made necks before. At this point with a neck blank, which do you do next? Do you cut the width out and taper the neck, or do you cut out that neck section before ready for carving? Type in the comments your answer now. Okay, right. So the way I like to do it is to taper the neck. I've seen people do that. For me, I'm only going to do that when I start really shaping the neck, and you can't do that for me until you've got the widths correct. So that's the next thing for me, is to mark off the widths that we need on this tiny little neck. It's so small. And then we can cut those out. Now it would be easy on such a small neck to assume that the width of the nut is going to be really skinny and small, like a violin might be. But with a ukulele, you play chords rather than just individual fingers and notes. So violin nut widths are about 24mm. This is about 37. So not far off what you'd get on a full guitar, even with those 4 strings. So I have my centre line marked off. So at my nut width, there's the centre point. I want 37mm. So with this centre finding ruler, I want 18.5mm either side of central. And at the heel end, on this bit, not this bit, at the heel end, it's 44mm wide, 22 either side. Not a lot to take off from here. There we go. Right, draw some straight lines and cut them off. So with the neck width rough cut out, not done perfectly, close to the pencil line but not up to, I'm now going to turn my attention to that side profile now. So I'm just going to put this standard kind of 10 degrees roughly on there. So from where that nut's coming in fact, that wants to be a little bit different to there, doesn't it? Hang on. Now, what I didn't take into account there was the width of the actual nut. So that's the nut going on there. So I want to go from about that point down, not from nut central. So let's redo that. This bit never really needs to be perfect. The angle, I don't believe, makes a staggering difference. Comment if you think it's super important and absolutely vital that this is a perfect angle. I don't think it is, but there we go. And then your standard 15mm depth. And at the heel end, I want a 40mm heel. Now the reason I've gone with a 40mm heel is we've got the neck drawing here, and this is the bodywork. This striped off section is the maple interior. I want the neck to come into that as the neck pocket, so that the maple strip through there will blend into the neck, creating a whole heel section here, and then the body's actually going to come off from there. I'm sure that will all make more sense when you actually see it. And I want that heel to come in about 70mm. So at that point, I'll come down 40 from there again. There we go. So that's the bottom of my neck heel, all nice and flat and straight. And then roughly around the first fret-ish is going to be about 17mm, which is about there. And then about halfway along, it's about 7th fret, we're going to have 20mm. So we're going to mark off like that, straight line across there. So as always, the neck gets slightly thicker all the way down. Now then, volute? Yeah, go on then. So let's make one probably about there, something like that. Now I'm looking dead straight on, you can see that on there. So we have got volute on there. And then I'm not going to worry about this section here for now. I'm going to rough that out. That's going to be personalized once it's attached to the body, so everything flows in perfectly. Quick and simple with this one. Back to the bandsaw. Damn it! So even with previous adaptations for my bandsaw, this block of wood is still too thick to go through. So I've marked off the maximum width that I can take. I'm going to trim those edges off, and then that should hopefully fit through to be able to get those angles cut off. Always keep little offcuts like this, perfect for doing inlays and things. Now, some people might say I should have cut that angle off before attaching the fretboard so that I can smooth that angle off with a plane. Those people would have been right. I just can't help smiling at how cute this little thing is. It's just gorgeous, isn't it? Well, there you go, rough cut. Now for a little bit more detail work. Okay, so I've been messing about with headstock designs, and I think I'm happy with that one. It's a little bit weird just having those 4 to either side instead of the usual 6, using that as a bit of a guide. So this is what we've got. So we have strings that are just less than 40mm apart at that point, 40mm apart there, and they're 40mm apart there, and 40mm apart from there to the nut as well. So everything should look pretty equal. The 2 outer strings coming off straight, and then they're splaying out. Basically then just sketching around those marks to try and make sure that we've got enough meat from the edge to the center of the hole that the tuners can be screwed on, and then it's a design that actually I enjoy and I like. Like I say, trying to replicate my standard classic headstock, which yes is just a little bit weird on a smaller size. Now again, I'm going to go back to the bandsaw to cut this out, but because of the funky angles I've stuck a block on the back of it so that it's going to cut straight, so it's not going to cut that weird little angle at the top. It's actually going to cut everything nice and straight and perpendicular to the headstock, regardless of what the rest of the neck's doing. So with that rough cut out to shape, the next thing I'm going to do is start tapering and put the neck profile on the back of here, just in that standard way that I've done all of my necks, by halving things off. So I have my center line because of the joint on the neck, halfway through there, halfway through there, get rid of that area. Do the same on that side, half it again, keep going through, you end up with a curve. So there we go, with 6 straight facets cut off. That's taken me about 15 minutes and warmed me up lovely. We've got pretty much a curve on there, so all we're going to do now is just knock off the edges carefully, and you'll have a nice round profile neck. One ukulele neck, rough shaped with a nice feel to it, and just needs a bucket load of sanding on all surfaces. Now make sure you click like and subscribe to see what we're going to do next week, because I don't even know what we're going to do next week yet. So make sure you ring that little notification bell so you find out what's happening next. Until then, watch this video because I'm pretty sure you'll love it. Get in the workshop and make something amazing. Until next time, God bless.